Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. Today we're going to be talking about Batman No Man's Land Volume 2. Hey everybody, and welcome back to BK's Bullets. I'm your host, Brent as always, and today we're going to be reviewing Batman No Man's Land Volume 2. And where is the 2 on the side? It's right here, itty-bitty there. So we're going to be talking about this. I just finished it, and I know I just posted the Volume 1 review maybe a day or so ago. But man, I had to pick up Volume 2 right away and talk about it. So before we get into the review, let me ask you to please do one thing. Please subscribe. Helps me out, helps the channel grow, lets you know when I drop new videos, all that good stuff. So Batman No Man's Land Volume 2. So we are deep into No Man's Land at this point. Lots of cool stuff here. I really enjoyed this run. This trade actually makes up like probably what will be the second half of the upcoming No Man's Land Omnibus. So if you're watching these reviews in preparation of getting that, come back after you've read it. You know, we're gonna be talking about some spoilers and stuff. But this, I've read No Man's Land. I have not read these trades, and now I've done an overview of the trades and compared them to the old trades, which were like printed in 2000, almost 20 years ago. So that's the No Man's Land that I had read. It was in 5 smaller trades, and that had a lot of stuff left out of it. As it became apparent when I read this volume and I start to read the 3rd volume, I'm not halfway through, but I'm a good ways through this one. This is Volume 3. And what I also find is kind of funny is that they use a cover from the previous issue on the cover of Volume 2, and it's the same thing with Volume 3. Volume 3, this is a beautiful Dale Eaglesham cover. That issue is actually collected in here, and that cover is in the back cover gallery. A little bit weird, but okay, we'll take it. I guess maybe they thought they couldn't use many of these covers. Like, this is a beautiful cover. Why not use this for Volume 2? I maybe understand why. There's some stuff with Nightwing in here, these Scott McDaniel covers, which are phenomenal. There's the issue that I had read the most out of No Man's Land, which was this one. This is the Clayface and Poison Ivy 3-parter. I had this issue when I was growing up, and I reread this issue over and over and over again. And that's also the back cover here. Beautiful cover by Glenn Orbick. And then there's a Catwoman tale at the end, and that's it. So some of this book has to do with, the beginning half is really Batman figuring out he can't do this alone. So there's a big moment in the middle of this book where he says, like, assemble the family. That's the big moment of this book. And maybe the reason why they used that cover with Batman and the family on it, no Azrael, I noticed. Where's the Azrael love? Is because the Volume 3 is more about, so far, as you're exploring the family and stuff. There's stuff with Robin, Batgirl, Nightwing, all that kind of things. But this is interesting. So we're set up in No Man's Land. We're no longer exploring who all the players are, all the gangs, and all that stuff we were doing in Volume 1. This is a little bit, not as... It's kind of segmented. It runs the same way that Volume 1 does, where if there is an arc of a story, they will group them all together, and then they will intersperse that with onesie-twosies if that's how editorial planned it. I don't know if this is publishing order. Maybe I'll check on the 3rd review if this is actually publishing order. But again, it's done the same way, where you have a writer and artist teaming up to do a 2 or 3-part story, and then they're actually publishing it across the different Bat books. So you have like Claim Jumping, which is the first story here, as a 2-parter with Greg Rucka, Mike Deodato Jr. on art. And it runs across Batman Legends of the Dark Knight 119, and then Batman Part 2, Batman Shadow of the Bat 87, which I can only presume either came out like the same week or the following week. What is nice, though, is that they've kind of figured out a way to put Claim Jumping in as the first story here with this new map of Gotham to show you like what the current status of where the gangs are. So it shows you how the Blue Boys have kind of expanded. Remember, we had the gang war in Volume 1. That's represented here. And this is part of the issue. Like, there's captions over it. So I wonder if there was like a real concerted effort to show a map every couple of months to show how the territories had changed and expanded and stuff like that. So it's really interesting. And the other thing about this is that now that the Batman has come back after Volume 1, looking at that map, Batman's territory is huge, and it's just marked in yellow as him with the bat symbol in yellow. It's massive. And I was like, really? So Batman owns almost most of Gotham compared to everyone else when this book starts. So again, real interesting stuff. There's a little thing in here that's a little wonky, is the issue where Batman tells Oracle, assemble the family, comes before a couple of issues. One of them is the Young Justice No Man's Land special, where Superboy, Impulse, and Robin try to break into Gotham with this green merboy, I don't know what his role was. This guy right here. And it happens in the reading order directly after Batman says, assemble the family, and they've all kind of come up with Batman and said, hey, what's up? So that reading order was a little weird. And then you have this issue with Robin and Nightwing, which actually tells their tale of how they got into the city after Batman summoned them. Again, happens the issue after you see the family come together and kind of say, like, you're all right, you're welcome here, I need your help. So that was the only weird thing about the reading order, but hey, I mean, what are you going to do? Like, that happened at the end of a two-parter that I guess they wanted to put in certain places, so it wouldn't really make sense to stick certain things in other places. Maybe it's what worked the best. I don't know. Again, if this is the way it is in the omnibus, great. Then we're talking about the same thing. If not, I don't know what to tell you, because the omnibus hadn't come out at this point when this video was published. And I'm not buying omnibuses. I'm purely a trades guy. Like, my shelves over here are all... I have one, like, big, long bookshelf for all my trades. I haven't needed to expand it yet. I've kind of... I went on a binging spree during the pandemic, honestly, of buying new books or buying books that I wanted on my shelf, because normally it wasn't... I had, like, 4 of them, and that was it. And a lot of stuff on digital and stuff like that. But in the pandemic, I want to sit down and actually hold books, and now I'm running out of room. So we have a problem that I'm going to have to address upcoming here in the man cave. But so I'm not really buying omnibuses or anything like that, because they just take up too much shelf space. They're too big. Like, if I made the shelf full of omnibuses, I would lose probably 1 or 2 shelves, and I don't want to do that. But anyway, let's talk about this book. By far, my favorite story in here are the Nightwing 3-parter, where he goes to Blackgate Prison to take it back from lockup. That was really cool. It's towards the end of the book. It's got Scott McDaniel on art, and this is an issue of Nightwing, or 3 issues of Nightwing here, written by Chuck Dixon, I believe, and that was really cool. And the nice thing here too is that they're actually leaving in the threads of the regular Nightwing run. Like, they're not taking out these pages with Blockbuster, who's in Bloodhaven and doesn't, there's nothing to do with No Man's Land, or the Nightwing imposter, if you remember this guy. They don't take out those pages. I mean, that's probably something that was set up before Nightwing came to No Man's Land, and it's probably continued after he leaves No Man's Land. But it is nice that they're including the entire whole issue of this book, and not just, removing pages like they were doing in the old trades I had read. Frankly, I think they put in certain pages and didn't have whole issues. But my favorite story in this little thing here was the Clayface Poison Ivy story. I'm trying to flip to the title page if I can find it. Was it? I want to say it was like Heart of Clay, Feet of Clay. I'm sure it's wrong. Fruit of the Earth. Yeah, that's a much better title. Fruit of the Earth. It's a 3-parter here, and it's got Greg Rucka on writing, Dan Jurgens doing I don't know if it's layouts or pencils, but you got Bill Sienkiewicz doing the inks. And it's definitely Sienkiewicz looking. I mean, that looks nothing like a Dan Jurgens face. Like, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Dan Jurgens came out and said, yeah, I did all the art, and then Jurgens just erased all of it, or Sienkiewicz erased all of it and did it himself. But, man, this story is so fun. So this is the first time we encounter Poison Ivy in the No Man's Land story. We've seen her on the map. We've heard tales of Robinson Park, where she's operating, but we haven't really gone and see her yet. So this is the first time we encounter her. And again, Batman is striking deals with villains in order to maintain the order of Gotham City. And he tells Poison Ivy, if I get rid of Clayface for you. You're going to grow fruit, and you're going to make deliveries here on this day and this day, and you're going to keep the kids that are helping you safe, and you're going to take anybody in that wants to be here, and you're not going to hurt anybody else, and you're not going to leave the territory either. And she agrees. Batman, if there's something happens to me, you got to come help me. So it's basically Batman running a protection racket with the other villains of Gotham City as he consolidates power and tries to rein in all the chaos and anarchy that is roaming the city. The other cool thing that I noticed reading these new versions of the trades anyway is the Azrael story, which was left out. And Azrael, we saw in Road to No Man's Land Volume 2, we had Nicholas Scratch introduced in the Batman and detective books as well, and then Azrael became Agent of the Bat in that book, Volume 2, as he went after Nicholas Scratch. That seems to be Azrael's ongoing tale, is hunting this guy, and we have a couple issues here where Azrael actually takes the new Batgirl. Would you believe me if I told you there were actually 3 Batgirls in this book? Counting Oracle, not really counting, but there's actually 2 different ones. So it does answer the question I had in the last review of why is Batgirl talking so much, this new Batgirl? I had forgotten why, and it happens early on in Volume 2. But anyway, Nicholas Scratch is this guy here, and he's the guy who pushed for the government to abandon No Man's Land in Road to No Man's Land Volume 2 in that volume, and then he's kind of given up his celebrity and come to Gotham to try and see who he can control and how much he can get away with, frankly. He's an egomaniac, and he's just trying to rile things up. So Batman has tasked Jean-Paul Valley, Azrael, to go and take him out, to take him down, and not kill anybody, so it's kind of a test. So there's a really neat thing here where they're using the idea, like Azrael gets captured, he's not in costume when he gets captured, and then he has to figure out a way to get his costume back on, not because he wants to be in costume, but because he needs the costume to trigger his conditioning. So, and they do explain it in the book, and I didn't quite remember it, but if you've read Sword of Azrael, or even, I think, somewhere in Night Quest, they alluded to it a little bit as well. And definitely in Fallen Angel, the only Azrael trade that's come out of that Jean-Paul Valley run, they talk about it where they conditioned everybody to become Azrael when they put on the costume. So he tricks the guys into putting the costume on, and even tricks them so far as to put on his mask. And his mask, as soon as the mask is put on, you can see the narrative captions go, and then his voice changes into this thick Azrael growl, which is this caption box here. So that's a cool little thing, and then he beats the shit out of Nicholas Scratch, as one would, right? But it's also cool to see Azrael not just doing this, but he's helping the new Batgirl. He's kind of training her, or taking her under his wing in this adventure. And then he's also doing things with Leslie Tompkins. And he's kind of protecting her camp, her little encampment there. And so I think that's going to develop in further issues. And I think that's pretty cool. It's something I've never seen before, never read, because they left Azrael out of the No Man's Land story in the initial trades that I had. Another story I thought was cool, let's shout this one out. Not the Man-Bat story with Francine. This one is called Turn On, Tune In, and Freak Out. It's by Dafydd Wynn. I've never heard of him, but it does have Eduardo Barreto on art, and he is a longtime inker, but also an artist on his own right. And it's this little one-shot tale of one survivor who found the TV station that still had broadcast power and decided to do a show every single day in Gotham with puppets and a model of the city, and highlight people in Gotham who were doing good deeds. And there's kind of this ongoing narration as you're cutting away from the show to the people watching it, between Batman and Oracle, just saying, why are we letting this guy on the air? And Batman saying, people need to see that Gotham is more than just this wasteland, that there are still people here. They need to connect with real people on the inside in order not to forget about us. And that's why he's letting this guy continue to operate and even protecting him as part of the story. And then reminding the rest of the world that Batman is still out there in Gotham protecting people like this television guy. So that was a cool little story that was left out of the other volumes. And some of these little one-and-doners, I think they were definitely left out in the old trades. So This is the first time they've probably ever been collected here. I'm trying to remember if the Nightwing 3-parter had been collected with him breaking into Blackgate, going up against Lockout and KG Beast. I don't remember reading that before, so I want to say maybe that's the first time that's been collected here as part of the No Man's Land story. I mean, that's the case for a lot of these stories too. The Catwoman thing was definitely something I'd never read before. So there's a 3-parter in here by John Ostrander and Jim Balent, however you pronounce his name. There's 3 issues of Catwoman in here, and she's going on a mission outside of Gotham City to retrieve some discs, and that are supposedly going to help Batman rebuild Gotham. It's not clear what's on these discs, but unfortunately for Batman, she kind of hits a couple of hiccups. So I think that's more set up for what happens later, because I remember when I was reading No Man's Land the last time I read it, I don't know, probably 15 years ago, something like that, in those older trades. The savior of Gotham at the end of Volume 5, I think, or maybe a Volume 4, another bald-headed person in the DC universe, you might know who I'm talking about, just kind of shows up out of nowhere, and I feel like what's happening in this Catwoman issue is a setup for that, so I'm interested to see if more of the little issues that always got left out that are sprinkled in these trades link to that story more, so that when it finally comes out in the last volume, in Volume 4, that it is fully fleshed and feels more tactile or real or understandable. Because when I've read it the first time, second time, third time, whatever, in the old trades, it was definitely like an out of nowhere type thing. So I'm interested to see where this goes. But man, I just love this era of Batman. It's just so cool. Everybody's in, I think I just love it because everybody's in different positions, you know. Batman is still fighting crime, but he's letting some crime get away. He's got caves all over the city. He's not operating out of the Bat Cave, so there's some exploration of that with these new Bat Caves. And then he's also doing things where he is, he's teaming up with people you never thought he would team up with. He's teaming up with Poison Ivy. He's got this ongoing deal with the Penguin, that's in this volume. And he's using those as leverage in order to maintain control. He's still fighting with Gordon in this volume. They're still having this disagreement where Gordon doesn't want to really talk to Batman or hear his name uttered because he's so mad that Batman disappeared for 3 months. And stuff like that. The stuff with Two-Face is really interesting. There's an escalation early on in the war, and this is the arc that makes Batman realize that he cannot do this alone, that he needs help. And this is also the end of, this is the introduction of Cassandra Kane, as you might notice in the title here, Mark of Cain. And, he makes an appearance. He's hired to kill Batman, and then we meet Cassandra. Interestingly, her first, I think this whole arc is drawn by Damian Scott, who went on to do a whole bunch of issues on her solo series after No Man's Land. So that's a whole lot of fun. It's written by Kelly Puckett, who I also believe wrote a bunch of issues on the Cassandra Kane Batgirl series too. So this is fun. Definitely a fun story, and pushing Batman to his limits. So really, really fun. Highly recommend you guys, if you can seek these out, definitely try and pick them up if that's how you want to read them. If you want to get the omnibus, do it. I think honestly, I was reading some of the comments on the last video, people saying like, oh, but these are way overpriced now, they're super hard to find, and that's because they were printed in 2015, 2016, so they're 7 years old now, and they haven't been reprinted since. So that No Man's Land omnibus that's coming out, I don't know if it's next month or the month after that, may be your best chance to read these stories. So if you have an interest in reading No Man's Land, I highly suggest you do. Read it on the DC Infinite app if you want to do it that way. Got no issues with that. I do that myself with Comixology. But if you want something physical, seek out that omnibus, pre-order it however you think you can get it. Or if you really like the trades, you might have to spend a little bit of money to find them. But I would definitely recommend hitting every local comic shop in your area and just picking them up, onesie, twosies, whatever you can find. Online retailers, Amazon, DCBS, Tales of Wonder, cheap graphic novels. I picked these up, I think, from DCBS and maybe cheap graphic novels as well 2 years ago, I believe. It was a while back. But, yeah, so definitely don't overpay for them if you don't have to. But definitely, for me, my story is always the Cataclysm trade that has this spine, right? That matches everything else. was looking to find it, and I bought it on eBay for $60, and it retails for $40. And I went to a local comic shop in my area like 2 weeks after I bought it, and there it was on the shelf for $40. So I could have saved myself $20 if I had checked all the local shops in my area that still had a good selection of older trade paperbacks and stuff in stock. So that's my recommendation if you're looking to pick up No Man's Land. If you're looking to get the trades, I would search every local comic shop in your area that's feasible, and only then start looking at online retailers, or paying over cover price if you really want them that way. But honestly, I think the omnibus, if you don't have it yet, may be your best bet. I'm sure they'll do a volume 2, because there's not any way that they can do a Road to No Man's Land omnibus that has come out that contains Cataclysm and the Road to No Man's Land trades, and then do No Man's Land that only contains, I think it's only going to have the like up until the end of this book here, volume 2. So they probably will do a second one that has volume 3 and 4. And 4 is definitely thick. Like volume 3 is a little bit thinner than volume 2, but 4 is a beast compared to this thing. So yeah, check those out if that's the way you want to get it. That's how I can tell you how to find them, But anyway, thank you guys for watching this review. Let me know what you think of No Man's Land. Is it one of the all-time great Batman events? I certainly think it is, and we will talk about it more and more as I read through the other 2 volumes here. Again, I've already started volume 3, so look for that video coming soon here on the channel. Check out the No Man's Land playlist for all things related to Cataclysm, No Man's Land, these trades, my reviews, all that stuff. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you guys next time in the Funny Pages.